Okay, welcome back, folks, to another line of battle replay. We have a smaller game this time. I think I'm going to try and keep most of my casting to this size of replay because the last replay that we did, it was a little bit too big and there was like way too much stuff going on. And there's some problems with like the replay system itself, which I won't get too much into detail, but the way that the replay system works is that it tries to make it look like it's a hybrid RTS kind of game, when in reality it's not. It's a turn-based simultaneous war game. We can't actually see like turn by turn where it ends, where it starts, and what the orders were for all the players that issued them during the turn. I've quite figure out a way to see it like that. So what we're gonna do moving forward is that once the battle begins, I'm gonna slow down the replay to about zero point 0.5 speed, and that way it should be a little bit more manageable for not only myself but for you, the viewer, as well, who wants to like see things happening in real time, be able to, you know, get in the information, soak it all up. So okay, anyways, with the housekeeping all done, we'll go over army comps. So we have red here, who is Mr. Veneer. His opponent in blue here is Mr. Annoying Villagers. Okay, so in terms of army comps, we have another kind of like asymmetric matchup. And we have something else interesting here is these guys here, the militia units. So I haven't showcased these units before. They haven't come up in the previous two replays. But the militia is basically a mob with guns. They they don't last very long in combat. They don't do that much damage, but they are dirt cheap and they fulfill the first principle of teamwork, which is to give the enemy somebody else to shoot at. So here on red side, his army is actually split into just two types of units. He's got a stack of Grens, and then he's got a stack of militia, and then that's it. He got no line infantry, no guards, nothing. As even with the light infantry divisions that he has, he only has three of them. So that's his army comp for infantry wise. Just do it. It's just that. Now for his artillery, he's got five 6 pounders, and no, yeah, five 6 pounders, and then he's got three 12 pounders. So he's got a mix up here. He's got some medium, some heavy to support his infantry. Now here's the other interesting thing regarding his irregular forces. He's got a stack of rifles. You love to see him. My favorite unit in the game. 6 rifles, about 10, 12 skirmishers, and he's got about 10 light cav. Yeah, so that's his army comp. Now, if we look over here at blue, we'll go backwards here. In terms of cav, red has two extra cavalry units. Blue has two shot cav, two lights, two dragoons, the mediums, and two heavies. So red outnumbers blue by just two cav units. But if I were to just, if we would just evaluate if it was a one-on-one cav engagement, blue here would be the more favored. He's got a more well-rounded force, and in a sustained engagement, he'd come out on top. This, I think, is going to be important because the map is pretty open. Lots of room to maneuver, unlike the previous large battle which happened in the forest. The cavalry is probably going to get a little bit more play and probably become a little bit more important. If red can figure out a way to get maybe one or two of blue's cav units knocked out before any kind of major cavalry engagement, if it comes down to that, he'd probably be able to come out on top. But we shall see. We shall see if that actually does happen. That's in terms of cav. In terms of regular forces, blue here doesn't have any rifles. He's just got a whole line of skirmishers, and he's got 4 light infantry divisions. So he's got one extra light infantry compared to red. He does have two light artillery batteries, the 4 pounder foot artillery. He's got two of those. For his regular artillery, he's got an 8 pounder, three of the 6 pounders, and two 12 pounders. So he's got a little bit more well rounded artillery battery. He's got more light stuff. He's got more mediums. He just is one short of the heavier guns here. Yeah, Red has three 12 pounders. In terms of his infantry, he too has brought some militia, but he only has brought four. He's got his main core of about 8 line infantry. He's got 4 Grens and 2 guards. So in terms of infantry, he also has a more well-rounded force, but Red has more, slightly more. So that's basically the army comps there. So it's going to be interesting. see whether or not the regular forces are going to be able to get enough of an advantage, depending on who's able to outmaneuver their opponent. And then after that, it will just come down to whose main mass of infantry will carry the day after that. If one side can win the cav and the skirmisher game, he should be able to shift it into his balance. And yeah, it will be interesting to see. So let's get at it then. Okay, yeah, forgot deployments. So, okay, until we get to the actual combat, I'll slow it down. Okay, so blue has gone for a very spread out, even distribution of his forces. In terms of his skirmisher lines, he split it heavily more onto the left and the right, leaving just two skirmishers in the center. He stacked up his three militia in the column on the left side here, going down this road. Okay, so nothing here that really indicate that he's trying to push any one side. I forgot, I should have gone over the map first before we went into deployment. In terms of map, um, I think I've actually covered this map before. No, I haven't. It's slightly different from the first replay that I did. In the first replay, it's very similar, but there were extra forest areas on the left victory point in the center here, which gave the northern player a slight advantage. But this one looks a little bit more even. So on the left side here, this victory point is right out in the open. You've got this river line over here on blue side, which I don't think it will really impede his movement trying to get across there. So I think it's a pretty even point for contestation for both sides there. The center point, however, that's very much heavily favored into red. He's got this patch of forest right here overlooking the victory point. Any kind of major attempt to challenge it on blue side's got to cross around this bridge first. Yeah, no, it's very much favored for red. This side here on the right, I think it slightly favors blue. It's somewhat on top of this elevation point here, and blue can get onto this elevated point a little bit faster than red. Of course, it comes down to whether or not the players wish to take these lines here. They might have different strategies that they want to employ, but we shall see. But that's just the map analysis there. Going back to the deployment, blue doesn't really seem to show me any real favor except for the center here. I don't think he's going to try and really challenge that. He's only got these two skirmishers going in the center here. The rest of his irregular forces are all stacked left and right. And as I said, his main core army is all just spread out quite evenly. On red side, okay. So he's made several detachments small columns is militia with its Grens, right? So the Grens are the shock assault infantry unit. From what I'm looking at here, I think that what he's going to try and do is that he's going to try and use his militia and, like I said, fulfill the first principle of teamwork, give the enemy somebody else to shoot at. They're going to soak up the shots while his Grens try to close the distance and slam into whatever kind of forces that Blue manages to deploy on the front line first. At least that's what it looks like here to me. He has stacked up all three of his heavy guns right on this one spot. That's interesting. Okay. He's got all his artillery concentrated in the center here, and all of his rest of his irregular forces all spread out nice and even. Except for the rifle, he's got his whole corps of riflemen right here on the right. Yeah, I think he's gonna try and just push into this forest patch here, get up a firing line, and just hold down onto that middle victory point. Okay. Well, game is on. Let's see. We'll slow it down once the shooting starts. Okay, you know what? Things are moving just a little bit too fast. We will just slow it down now. Okay. We've got artillery set up on the left flank across the bridge. We've got the cavalry now moving up forward. Okay, blue skirmishers are deploying across the entire riverfront here. And yeah, okay, red has captured the forest patch here with all his rifles. He's got, okay, more skirmishers set up on the leftmost forest here. He's sending cav and skirmishers to contest the left point. Blue has not actually maneuvered his forces to try and contest the leftmost star. He's come up to this junction here where the four roads intersect with the bridge. And he's only now just moving up his militia and one light infantry across to the far left here. Okay, okay. I think that would be a pretty even fight between the cav and the skirmishers and the couple of well, this is one lone light infantry division that's coming up to the left side there. That ought to be a pretty even fight on that side there. On the right side here, Blue has not actually tried to push that heavily with his irregular forces onto this elevation. Instead, it's Red that's done that. Now, this is interesting. Looks like to me that Red is going to try and prevent Blue from trying to get up onto this elevated point with his cav. He's going to sacrifice that. And then he's probably going to try and move up some of his more core forces here. But will he get there in time? I don't think he will. His deployment in the initial point along the roads. Actually, no, there is no road leading directly to the point here on his side here. And that is interesting. We'll just have to see, I suppose. Shots of the artillery pushing back the cavalry on the right flank there. Shots in the center left as well. Yep, Red's cavalry has withdrawn slightly. Okay, he did go for it. And okay, so Red went off because it's a reverse slope here. Actually, I probably should have switched over. Yeah, I should have switched to the Fog of War mechanics earlier. But yeah, coming up to this point here, Blue wasn't able to quite see what was being deployed on the reverse slope of this elevated point here, but he can see it now. Yeah, Red sent up his 2 screening units to try to prevent any crossing. Blue kind of went to the river, stopped, and now is moving in to push up forward. This is that one point in time where he stopped a little bit, has given Red the opportunity to rotate his forces in the center. And now they're swinging really hard onto the right flank here. He's got this massive concentration of his artillery, his skirmishers, his cav, and now the Grens that are coming up from the rear here. They've all just grouped up in the center, swung around to the right. It's going to be a big fight on this hill over here. Okay, on the left flank, we have, yep, the blue is now contesting the leftmost star. We have, yeah, one of the task forces from the left flank here, the Grens and the militia. Blue does not have any reserves to really commit to this side. Even if he tries to rotate forces from the center off to the left, it's not going to be enough. Blue has a lot larger force concentration on the left side here. He's even got artillery. Blue doesn't actually have any artillery deployed on this side. Yikes. Yep. Well, just judging by the rest of his force deployment, Blue is going to try and contest the middle. Like I said, he stopped when he got to the river line here. And the middle point is favored on Red's side, just terrain-wise. It's going to come down to who can better utilize their artillery in this couple of turns that are come up on here. If Blue can thin out some of Red's forces as they've already maneuvered out of this forest, cut down some of the numbers, he might be able to get an advantage moving on into the middle game and take the middle point here. Yeah, that would be interesting to see. Let's just switch over to Red's point of view. Okay, yeah. So at this point in time, both sides have pretty much seen most of the deployment of each side. It's only this part here. No, the cav from earlier probably already detected these guys. So Red has pretty much the full picture on Blue's deployment. But I don't think Blue, until right about now, has quite realized what the deployment of Red is. There hasn't been like too much of a drastic deployment or counter deployment on each side that I don't think it's really going to factor into the decision making of either player. It's just going to come down to who can micro better once the main battle line gets drawn up here. Okay. Right, we have lines being formed. Light infantry and skirmishers. Okay, skirmishers are now withdrawing on the right flank here. The main core of the infantry is now about to get into position. The line infantry divisions have already set up into the line. Blue has the advantage here. He's got all of his much heavier stuff already up on the elevated point here. He's already got his troops lined up, looking down from this elevation. He just needs a little bit more time. Yeah, he has more than enough time to get all the rest of his heavier stuff fully lined up on this line. And yeah, this fight not quite favored to Red, but we shall see. Red might be able to get something out of it through some micro. On the left flank here, Blue has decided to withdraw. I think that was the right decision. He did not have enough firepower or force concentration to really contest with red here. If there's a fight like this, right, where you can tell already before the main fight has really begun, you still have the option of withdrawing. You should take it. If you can't win the fight, then not much point in trying to just feed into the meat grinder and just end up losing forces that way. Withdraw, preserve your strength, and wait for another opportunity to make a play of some kind. But red now has basically all 3 points under his control. He's just started capping the leftmost point, but blue is red withdrawing, so he'll get that in the next couple of turns. Yeah. What is Blue's play? I'm not entirely sure what Blue's strategy is going forward from here. These players are pretty good from what I've been told. So yeah, we'll see. Skirmishers are reforming behind the artillery on the right flank here. Yep, Blue has managed to get his entire main battle force lined up on the right flank there on the hill. Red is just going for it. He's figured out that he has superior force concentration and firepower on the left flank. He's now going to push and pressure on the left side here, moving into the center. Damn, this is not a good position for blue. No. I can't quite see a way that he's going to be able to turn the situation around, really. It'll come down to this point here. If red fully commits, because he's got all his Gren stacked up in this forest line, he kind of, might be thinking about rushing the hill here, which he doesn't really have to do now, does he? He's got the leftmost point and the middle point. He's already started pushing blue across on the left flank here. He has the advantage if he just stays put in this forest line here and lets blue come to him, because remember, he has the point, blue has to come forward. If he just gives up this rightmost point on this hill, I think he ought to be all right. There's not really too much of a heavy force concentration of artillery for blue to really pour in that much fire down from the hill into this forest line and this large rid. It doesn't quite look like the situation to me. Yeah. What are you gonna do, Rid? Are you gonna push? Let's see. Couple of units breaking. Have oh wow. Okay. So Red pushed up most of his artillery that was on the right flank here, getting in close. I think he is actually trying to try go for it. We've got quite a few units already broken here. Most of half the rifle corps is gone. Light infantry and the light cav, they've all broken. Push on the left flank, still going forward. Might be opportunity for a flank here. But then again, it's just 2 militia and a light infantry. Well, sorry, 3 militia and a light infantry on this far left flank. I don't think that's enough force to really push a flank all on its own on that left side there. But the main battle line is drawn up on this like diagonal here. It's interesting to see. Artillery in the center, taking shots off into the middle. Red has his artillery covered by this small forest over here. But there's only really one gun that can counter battery fire from this side. The rest of blue's artillery is already stacked up on the hill on the right and in the center. So okay, not too big of an advantage, but it's nice positioning. Exchanges across the line here. Yep. Red is yeah, he's got his militia out in the front, soaking up the shots. His Grens are not making any push. Blue is trying to go around on this right side here. He's got his 2 cav units, but as we were saying earlier, if Red wanted to get like an advantage in terms of cav, it's up to him to try to thin out at least 1 or 2 units of Blue's cavalry, and he would be able to get an advantage on that. But most of Red's cavalry has already been expended. We've already got 3 units here that have already broken. We've got this one dude here that's caught out in the melee. He's not gonna last very long. We've got this other dude that's slightly down on org. He's actually almost broken himself. The rest of the light calves all in the center here. That's interesting. They're not really getting much play on this side here. Blue didn't go for that end around I was talking about. I think he figured as well. He doesn't have enough force to really push the whole flank with just this, what he's got there. So they're lined up on this side of the river. Okay, Red should have no problem trying to hold that. If red just sits put, he'll be fine. Not much blue can really do. More exchanges of shots in the front. And this entire time, red has not actually fully committed his grins, which is like the main punching force of his whole army here. He stacked up a lot of grins and just militia. The militia have done their job. They're taking all the fire, taking all the shots. I'm surprised that most of them haven't actually broken. Red has done like an excellent job utilizing his militia. He's got his bang for his buck out of those forces. And it's around about now, just right now, that Red is now committing his grins into this assault, all in column formation, all behind the militia. Damn, that's pretty good micro right there. He's got the guns been firing. He had these three lighter guns up in the front, getting shots in on Blue's mainline infantry. And these guys, yeah, they've had range this entire time, getting fire across the whole axis there. Yeah, militia pushing forward. What's left of the rifles? There we go. One break, two break, and yep, he caught one of the artillery with that charge right there with the grins. The other two grins are now coming up on the hill here. Will it be enough? Huh. Red has surrendered. I am slightly confused now. So he went for the assault, which I don't think he really needed to do. As I said, he could have just stayed up here. Blue didn't quite seem to have enough artillery fully concentrated, and there was a lot of dueling going on in the center here. So these guns right here weren't quite pressuring the main force on this right flank here. Well, only halfway through the game, Red has managed to get to the center and is now capturing one of the minor objectives here. Blue hasn't quite pressured the left flank at all. Huh. I guess Red realized that he does not have enough forces to really dislodge Blue on this side here. And since he's already committed most of his forces for the last like 10 turns or so outside of this forest, they've taken a lot of damage now. I guess he's called quits there. He can't break the main line of Blue on this hill. And he doesn't quite have enough punching power to really get a breakthrough on this side here. Hmm. Well, that's lines of battle for you. I don't think giving up this early. I don't think he should have given up this early. You never know, you know. There's enough options on the board here, from my point of view, that you might be able to make a play, and you never know. Your opponent might just blunder. It only takes like one very minor miscalculation. You can always shift the flow of the game back into your favor. But yeah, I think the mistake was here was this attempt to just push onto the hill. If he had just sat here and kept up his artillery counter battery on Blue's artillery, I don't think there would have been enough time for Blue to get a proper assault into the center here to take the victory point, which you already had locked down. And the fight over the left here, that you had that locked down from the very beginning. Blue did not deploy enough forces onto this flank here to really pose that much of a challenge. But it's interesting to see. I quite enjoyed this game actually. The difference in army composition. We did not get that kind of as I was saying at the very beginning for the army comps, we didn't get that kind of like important cavalry decision on this map. Both players spread out their cavalry pretty evenly across the entire board. They were all just there to really support their main composition. No main major cavalry action or real skirmisher action that pushed any one flank or gave a decisive tactical edge on any of the major engagements across the game. So yeah, okay, that's cool.